Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today, I'm finally gonna set up that ShelterLogic Shed-In-A-Box. Good. All right, you can hear the wind blowing out there, but it's not all that cold out. We'll see how bad it is back here. Oh, not bad at all. The wind's coming out of the north, so right where I'm standing, it is just fine. You can see how windy it is where the dog is. She looks a little cold there. Let's warm her up. As soon as I'm done throwing the frisbee for the dog, I'm gonna grab the wheelbarrow and go get that shed in a box, and we will absolutely be getting that set up today. And the first thing we're gonna be working on in there is this table saw. I gotta get this ready to go so I can cut some wood for the insulation installation. Well, that's hard to say, insulation installation that's gonna be going on very shortly. She just grabbed the frisbee and laid down in the snow up there. That's a sign that she is done playing for this morning. We'll do this one, maybe two other times today, but this is it for now. All right, let's go, honey. All right. And turn off the water. All right, I'm gonna go put her in the house, as well as that cat that's meowing at the door right there. Pick up the shed in a box, and I will meet you back here. What I'm doing now is separating things by looks. These have a socket on the end, these don't. A lot of the numbers are completely worn off, or they weren't printed very well to start with. So I just got to go by looks on most of this. Some are longer, like these are much longer than that. So I think what I'm going to do is just dump these into the back of the gator here, get the boxes out of the way, sort them here, and then once I'm done with that, I'll go through the instructions and start putting it together. Okay, it looks like everything's here. What do they say here? 6 of the longest one, that's correct. 22 of the second longest one, and 26 of the shortest one. They're almost the same length, so I'm gonna guess that that's correct as well. 8 washers, can't tell. 54 nuts, And again, I'm not going to count them. I have a bunch of these in stock, so if there's any missing, I can make it up. And the rest of this all looks pretty good. So we will go on to page 1. Okay, so on page 1, it says that we need 2 like this, 2 frames like this. And then on page 2, it says we need 1 like that. And then I'll take a quick peek. Okay, and then everything is just assembled together from there. Okay, so we have 3 frames to make up, and they have this little bracket right near the top, so got to remember to get that in there. Okay, and the 14s are, okay, so the little bit longer ones are for where there's a bracket, and the tad bit shorter ones are for these other 2 down here. And then we got a different one up here. Shouldn't be too hard. All right, let's start on this right here. Okay, I had to throw the frisbee for the dog real quick. One thing to remember is that when you're putting these bolts through, put them all through the same way. I have these all going that way, that way. That way, when you put the cover on it, the cover will be rubbing against this rounded part and not this sharp part here. Then when you put these together, this is an outside one, and that one's an outside one. You have this to the outside, so the cover will be against this rounded part. Sounds pretty simple, but there's people that don't do it that way. Okay, now for the crossbars. There's a set here and here that are the same, and this ridge one is the same in both cases. So I'm going to pre-assemble all these bars real quick, and then we'll get to putting this thing together. Okay, I had to sort everything out so that I could figure this out, but these right here, we got these shorter ones and 4 longer ones. These all go on later once the skin goes on, but the problem I was having, I had 6 tubes right here that have a reduced end so that they go into another tube, but I only had 4 tubes over here that did not have a reduced end. And most of my numbers, like this, are completely rubbed off. So I couldn't tell what was what at first. And then I took a closer look at this. These are 800599 and 800598, and I figured the ones on the other side were going to be the same, but they're not. Those are all 99. So the reduced end on one of those goes into the other end on the next one, leaving you with 2 of them that have a reduced end. So you have these 2 These two have a plain end on both ends, and these two have these shorter ones on one side. I really don't know what that's all for yet, but I'm sure it'll make itself obvious in a little bit. Okay, so now I'll connect two of these together, then it should stand on its own, and I can get the other one put on. Okay, yeah, it makes a lot of sense once you start putting this together how this goes, but you have the reduced end on this middle one here. I have to take this bolt out, put these together, and then put the bolt through the two of them. Then that end will be just like that end, non-reduced end, and it just has a bolt through it. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Take that bolt off, get these put on, one on either side, get that ridge put on, and then get the other end on today. Then I'll have to do this other part tomorrow. The skin is pretty involved. You have to put the ends on, and to do that, you have to take off, I think you have to take off the ridge connection there, and then wrap it around that, and then put the ridge connection back on. And then once you have both the ends on, I believe that's when you put the cover on. I think this is just like the greenhouse and the other shelter that we have. I have a video on the greenhouse. I do not have a video on the other shelter, but I'll link to the greenhouse video in case you want to see that. All right, let's get this frame done, and then we'll get back to this tomorrow and do the skin. Okay, I have all three of these on. This one gave me a ton of problems. What I ended up having to do was take this joint apart, take this completely off, and then tap that together with that orange mallet. And I even sanded it a bit. Got a sanding disc and some PV blaster and tapped them together. Real pain in the butt. This one went together like butter. Okay, now I'm going to pull that over, get that attached, and we'll do the rest of this tomorrow. Okay, we got it loosely assembled. Yeah, on the instructions, they really don't show you leaning this up against anything, but you really have to. It's not going to stand on its own. Maybe you could spike the legs down, but I don't know if that would even work. I would lean this up against a good stepladder like this or something, maybe a tree or whatever. I have all of these nuts and bolts. They're all loose right now, but I'm going to go back and tighten them all up except for this one and the one on the other end. Like I said, when you put the ends on these, it gets threaded through up here. So you have to take that apart and then put it back together, and then you can tighten it up. And I believe if this is like the other ones, once you put the main skin on it, there's pockets on the sides. Yeah, it's got to be, because it has these things. These things are like clamshells. Half of it goes on one side of the pole, half of it on the other, and it holds these rods in it on the ends here. I'll show you all that tomorrow. Let me see where we're at. Okay, it has you measuring corner to corner to get the thing square. Yep, and then they got you anchoring it down. I'm not going to be anchoring it down, but I will be putting like concrete blocks on these outer corners. I'll get it square, put concrete blocks on it just to hold it still while I get the skin on it. Once I have the skin on and them side poles there are through, this will be plenty rigid enough. We've moved these around, just disconnect them from the ground, and you get a couple people, you can lift it up and move it to another place, and it's plenty stable. The whole reason for building this inside of a shed in the middle of the winter is so that I can put heat in here in a much smaller space so I could work on my machinery and stuff this winter. I need to use rust remover on this, and it's so cold out here, if I put rust remover on, it'll just freeze right up. So Shed-In-A-Box is my solution to that. Okay, so like I said, tomorrow I'll get this thing tightened up and we'll start putting that skin on, and it should be done tomorrow. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you share the video and or give it a like, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.